On Fox News Sunday afternoon, Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg addressed the audience directly. There's good reason why these videos are going viral. While speaking with MAGA, he is accomplishing 3, 4, or perhaps even 5 crucial things, not the least of which is informing them that it's wonderful that they are part of a cult. Let's examine the first clip. We are going to discuss every single thing he is doing. Naturally, this kind of performance puts him in the forefront of many leftists' minds as a possible vice presidential contender. Perhaps as president one day. We're not sure if he's being given any thought. The strategic benefit of having 2 members of the same administration on the ticket is unknown to us. These are all different questions, but Pete Buttigieg is a strong candidate for vice president or president because he is capable of doing precisely this kind of thing.
And was she aware of how he was doing?
We're all aware of how he's doing. Our country has watched our president lead. And yes, we've also seen the fact that he's 10 years older than he was 10 years ago. But unlike Republicans, right, who in Trump's personality cult will take a look at Donald Trump and say he's perfectly fine, even though he seemed unable to tell the difference between Nikki Haley and Nancy Pelosi, even though he's rambling about electrocuting sharks and Hannibal Lecter, even though he is clearly older and stranger than he was when America first got to know him. They say he's strong as an ox, leaps tall buildings in a single bound.
Well,
we don't have that kind of warped reality on our side.
Well, voters...
on the contrary, the president confronted that reality in what must have been one of the most difficult decisions for an American president to make ever. And he did something that I don't think Donald Trump could even conceive of doing, which is putting his own interests aside for the country.
There are a ton of significant things there. First off, it's a terrific thing that Fox News managed to include the word cult in the discussion about MAGA. Although it's not much, the fact that it integrates it into the ecosystem makes it fantastic. Secondly, as the Fox News viewers have noticed, Trump appears to be losing his mind. People are confusing Trump. At rallies, he goes on these insane tirades and so on. That brings us to number 2. Thirdly, highlighting the existence of a media distortion in this area as well, you might want to consider where you're receiving your news if you're not hearing that Trump is doing these actions. They don't seem to be informing you of this. Fourth, using the Trump is an odd and peculiar thing. Whether you like it or not, there's this current controversy around Kamala Harris and other Democratic Party figures claiming that Trump and Vance are both quite strange. It's strange conduct. Even while this strategy isn't the most revolutionary for the campaign, it does demonstrate how unified the left is at the moment. It won't be me, according to Joe Biden. Both the money and the delegates now support Kamala Harris. We believe that Trump and Vance are strange, and Pete and others have expressed similar opinions. However, this serves as a reminder of the current state of the Democratic Party. And the fifth is not letting the host, I think Shannon Bream is the one, but don't quote me on that, preventing the presenter from interjecting when he's making his remarks, everybody in their 60s. This is some really, really fantastic stuff. Let's look at this following video clip. And this relates to all of Donald Trump's unfulfilled promises, as well as the notion that his words have no bearing in reality. None of it will be done by him.
About choice and her stance on defending a woman's right to choose versus Donald Trump, who eliminated a right to choose in this country.
Well, he sent it back to the states, to be fair.
Let's be very clear. He is proud of the fact that he demolished the national right to choose in this country, period.
But there are states that are figuring this out. I mean, there are some that are, it's nearly impossible, a 6-week ban or less. But there are others, there are states in this country that allow no restrictions up until the due date of a child.
There was a national right to choose in this country, law of the land, for 50 years, which the vast majority of Americans believed was the right thing to do. But Donald Trump made a promise when he was a candidate, one of the few promises he actually kept, by the way. You know, he didn't keep his promise of 6% economic growth. He didn't keep his promise to drain the swamp.
He did have a pandemic to deal with.
But even before the pandemic, even before the pandemic, America went into a manufacturing recession, which really hurt places like where I come from in the industrial Midwest. But anyway, my point is, he broke his promise for that kind of economic growth. He broke his promise to pass an infrastructure bill, right? He said he would do that. He failed to do it. The Biden-Harris administration got it done. He even broke his promise to that January 6th mob when he said, I will be at your side when you march down to the Capitol. But he actually did keep 2 promises. He kept his promise to destroy the right to choose in this country, and he kept his promise on tax cuts for the rich. And if you want to know what a second Trump term would be like, I would start by looking at those rare promises that he actually managed to keep.
He did say that he wanted to get rid of Roe v. Wade, but again, send it to the states where they are
Yeah,
hashing this
empower
out
the
and
states
have,
to
and have very
eliminate
different
women's access to abortion. And also, as you know, the Republican Party continues to be interested in a national abortion
which he's
ban.
disavowed completely.
Yeah, he's disavowed a lot of things. I don't believe him.
You
because
think
he
that,
lies all the time.
You think that his pledge that he would not pass a national ban is one that
it's one that's going to go down with most of the promises that he's made.
Yes, this is really, really good. This is excellent, excellent, excellent. And you can tell when something is improving when the host begins to say things like, okay, got it, got it. I appreciate your insights. I can't use any of my flimsy talking points to truly refute what you're saying anymore. I therefore sincerely appreciate you sharing your viewpoint with us. When things aren't going well, you witness a pivot like that. I want to play this one more clip right now. And here's Pete Buttigieg discussing the crime statistic.
The CBP union was for it, and then Trump swooped in to kill it. Not because he thought it was bad policy, but because he didn't want that issue to get better, because if it got worse, it would be better for him politically.
And I'll ask Senator Johnson about that, because there were a number of provisions that Republicans, including Mitch McConnell, ended up in the final product, felt that there was something they could not vote for there, and they could not move forward.
Come on, we know why they didn't move forward. They moved forward because Donald Trump swooped in. He said, I don't want Joe Biden to get a win.
They felt many of them that it was a flawed piece of legislation that had too many loopholes and other things they couldn't support. This is how Washington Post, this is how they described the border situation. Illegal border crossings soared in the months after Biden took office and immediately rolled back many Trump-era restrictions. They go on to say the number of people taken into custody by the U.S. Border Patrol has reached the highest levels in the agency's 100-year history under Biden, averaging 2 million per year. And there's a lot of that attributed to the fact that there were dozens of things done under the Trump administration that this administration rolled back. And Vice President Harris is part of this administration and had a leading role, according to mainstream media, on handling the border.
Let's get real. Border crossings are down in the wake of President Biden's executive actions that he took after Congress failed to act.
So he could have taken action.
He wanted Congress to resolve that because that would have been more durable. But when Trump came in, talked Republicans out of their own bipartisan project because he didn't want the issue to get better. Remember, the worse things are at the border, the better things get for Donald Trump. So he has a vested interest in it remaining chaotic down there. I think this also helps to explain why he didn't exactly conclusively solve it when it was his turn. But I saw something else really important happening at the Republican National Convention on the border and the talk about immigration, which we all recognize is a problem, which is they tried to paint this narrative that if you live somewhere far from the border and immigration hasn't affected you personally, you need to think that immigration is a driver of crime. That was the real message. Immigration leads to crime.
Well, there are blue state governors and mayors who say every state is a border state now. That's Democrats.
Yeah, and now they're saying, but what the false message of the RNC was that this is leading to an increase in crime.
Well,
and I think it's really important that we talk about
have
crime.
Been very high profile about people. If they had not been in this country illegally,
this is my
people
point,
would still
right?
be alive.
Trying to make people think that crime is up when crime is down under Joe Biden and crime was up under Donald Trump. Now, I don't know how often that gets reported on this network. So if you're watching this at home, do yourself a favor and look up the data.
We invite folks to do it at home, but they won't accept. We invite them, but we're not going to give them the data. To do it, the folks at home. This is excellent material. And over the past 4 years, including the 2020 primary and more recently, we have come to realize that the Democratic Party currently has a very strong bench. Consider how many individuals might easily assume the presidency today and make it seem like no big thing at all. Obviously, a change of president in the middle of a term would be significant. That's not my intention. However, consider the scenario in which we had to declare, hey, we need someone to be president now, regardless of the specific circumstances. Oh, I see. Indeed, Kamala Harris has a good chance of succeeding. Pete Buttigieg has a good chance of succeeding. Gretchen Whitmer has the ability. Josh Shapiro is capable of it. It was possible for Gavin Newsom. Tim Walz has the potential. Mark Kelly has the ability. It was possible for J.B. Pritzker. Hakeem Jeffries was capable of. There are a lot of persons on this list. It would be something like, yeah, just let me learn what I need to do, and there's going to be no concern. And I would be a great president. There won't be any controversy. It will just be a rather quiet affair. And that's just a haphazard assortment. In the meantime, the right might still elect Mitt Romney. I don't agree with him, but he could be president unless they want to return to the candidate that MAGA despises. All right, Chris Christie is capable of doing it. However, the individuals they consider are ridiculous fanatics, and there isn't a pool of sensible candidates who could fill the position. Thus, it serves as a reminder of the tone that Democrats need to set, as well as the reasons why Pete Buttigieg might be considering running as Kamala Harris's vice presidential running mate.